Elbaf is just around the corner, and I have a strong suspicion that this is going to be Usopp's arc. The idea that Usopp is connected to Elbaf has been around as long as dinosaurs in One Piece, literally, because there are actual dinosaurs in Little Garden. It was back in chapter 117 that Usopp first declared he wanted to visit the village of warriors. Of course, there are many other reasons why Usopp is intrinsically tied to Elbaf too, like how Usopp is based on the Greek fable Aesop, who is most known for his collection of stories called Aesop's Fables. Interestingly, Elbaf spelled backward is fable, making Usopp's journey to Elbaf the perfect nod to this inspiration. So now that we're heading to the land of his dreams, what's waiting for Usopp there? How will he grow as a warrior, or even as a character? Well, maybe I'm being optimistic, but I think he could get a plethora of needed development in this arc. That's what I want to discuss today, all the possible events we might witness on Elbaf. Let's start by talking about the character development Usopp he'd receive. Growth comes in all shapes and sizes, and for Usopp, that's especially true. His dream of becoming a brave warrior of the sea can mean different things depending on who you ask. According to Usopp in chapter 117, a brave warrior is someone who is willing to fight to the death for what they believe in. It's that unwavering will he wishes to acquire someday. Believe it or not, Usopp has already taken small steps toward this goal throughout the series. Some moments where he's taken a stand against opposition would be at Eni's lobby against Luffy and Lucci, at Dressrosa against Treble, and finally, the one I want to focus on today, back at Logatown with his duel against Daddy Masterson. Before the duel could even start, Usopp tried to run away because he was horrified by the outcome. But after hearing a story about how his father, Usopp, beat Masterson in a duel and spared him due to his own beliefs, Usopp gained the courage to tackle Daddy's challenge one last time, in which he succeeded. Before people jump in and say that Daddy Masterson isn't canon since he was only in the anime, not the manga, Oda actually came out with a Logatown arc novel that included Daddy Masterson and many other scenes shown in the anime. These scenes were originally cut from the manga due to timing, so generally it's considered more as cut content rather than filler. The reason I wanted to expand on that moment with Usopp and Masterson is because I believe that dynamic could be something we see on Elbaf, especially with the red-haired pirates being last spotted on this island. With Dory and Brogy being quite close to Shanks, we may hear many tales about how brave and courageous Usopp's father, Usopp, has been during his adventures. And with those stories comes a high bar of expectations for Usopp. This is something I believe anyone can resonate with, the weight of being compared to your father. Whether Usopp lives up to Usopp's name or not, I believe there will be a good amount of personal growth that comes from this arc. Succeed, and you're your father's son. Fail, and you become your own man. Another idea regarding Usopp has to do with his time spent on the island. We aren't too sure how the red-haired pirates reached their power level, but if they trained in Elbaf, maybe Usopp could go through the same training and face the same obstacles that his father did. There could be shooting ranges, difficult to hit targets, or even animals that Usopp fought here in the past. The mention of animals may seem random, but Dory and Brogy did compare the goldfish to common Elbaf animals, so we could see Usopp getting a workout against those creatures. Plus, we saw how insanely strong Luffy got by fighting the animals of Rusukana, and the animals of Elbaf are at least 10 times larger than anything Luffy faced during the time skip. I'm sure this training arc could go pretty hard. Another interesting aspect of this father-son dynamic is Usopp's title of Chaser, which could imply that his bullets never miss or that they seem to chase their target. Titles in One Piece can be exaggerated. But if we take this one seriously, maybe Usopp could achieve the same level of accuracy, perhaps even developing the homing missile effect that Usopp might have. This power-up could be the key to defeating future opponents, such as Van Augur. The Van Augur matchup has been hyped up ever since we met him in Jaya. Just as fans think that if someone has a sword, they're automatically a Zoro opponent. If someone has a long-range weapon, they're automatically an Usopp opponent. Van Augur is Usopp's one. His teleportation devil fruit grants him the ability to get out of tough spots easily and reach opportune vantage points. Right now, Usopp doesn't stand a chance at hitting or defeating him. Even though Usopp is a talented sniper, it doesn't mean much if his opponent can just teleport away. So how will Usopp hit Van Augur if they were to fight? I believe Usopp will acquire new skills in Elbaf that will help him overcome this hurdle. One idea is that Usopp could learn how to curve his bullets or perform trick shots by ricocheting them. Usopp has always been the craftiest member of the crew, so pulling off insane, off-the-wall shots would fit his character perfectly. Another idea is that he could develop an ability akin to his father's chaser title, where his pop greens could follow his target. This isn't far-fetched, as his pop greens are living attacks. These abilities would help Usopp close the gap in the Van Augur matchup and grow as a bona fide sniper. But Usopp isn't just a sniper, he's a warrior too. That's why I want to talk about the most popular theory surrounding Usopp, that he will obtain Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, or at least whatever One Piece-inspired lightning hammer Oda decides to introduce. We already know the Prince of Elbaf was given the name Loki, and where there's a Loki, there's typically a Thor. Thor hasn't been mentioned yet, but it's not hard to imagine that he and his hammer might exist in the One Piece world. Throughout the series, Usopp has shown an affinity for hammers. He first used a regular hammer in combat against the Arlong pirates, then upgraded to a 5-ton hammer against Mr. Four in Alabasta. He later wielded a 10-ton hammer in Thriller Bark, and while not many noticed, Usopp even has a 100-ton hammer, which made its debut in Film Z. Though the 100-ton hammer first appeared in Film Z, it was later made canon when it was shown deflated and destroyed in Chapter 742. All of this goes to show that while hammers aren't common weapons for snipers, Usopp is quite skilled with one. He's so skilled, in fact, that in his fight against Mr. Four, his finishing move was him literally shooting the hammer at his opponent. If Usopp acquires a super powerful lightning hammer, it would work as both a close-range and long-range weapon. If it's the mythical hammer Mjolnir that everyone talks about, it could return to him like a boomerang after being thrown, allowing Usopp to fire it off multiple times in battle. There are a couple of possibilities as to why Usopp might be the one to wield Mjolnir, rather than anyone else. One reason could be that it's actually a human-sized hammer in a land full of giants, and the giants may not be able to wield it due to its smaller size. Another reason is that in some iterations of the Mjolnir story, the hammer is forged by dwarves, which exist in the One Piece world as the Tontatta tribe. Before meeting them, Usopp foreshadowed the existence of a tribe of dwarves back in Chapter 24, when he said he once killed a giant goldfish and gave the meat to dwarves who were still eating it. This ties into Chapter 713, where the Tontatta tribe mentions that the fighting fish off Green Bit are related to giant goldfish, and the tribe uses them as a main food source. This Usopp and Nolan connection could be pivotal because Usopp once lied and said he was related to Nolan. This lie earned him the Tontatta's alliance and their silly nicknames, like Uso Land. Perhaps the hammer Mjolnir was crafted by the One Piece version of dwarves, the Tontattas, as a gift for their hero Nolan and his descendants. If that's the case, Usopp could become its sole wielder due to his claim of being related to Nolan. This connection could be noted by Hadrian, the giant member of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, who was present when Usopp became God Usopp and heard the Tontattas refer to Usopp as Uso Land. Another, even crazier, possibility for why Usopp could be the sole wielder of Mjolnir is if it turns out to be a weapon that has consumed a mythical Zoan devil fruit. Usopp was the first character in the series to encounter one of these combinations, facing Lasso, the bazooka dog in Alabasta. Ever since then, we've wondered how inanimate objects can eat devil fruits. While we thought we'd learn more about this on Egghead Island due to Dr. Vegapunk's expertise, it hasn't been fully explained yet. But never say never, as Vegapunk is still with us. If Mjolnir is a living Zoan weapon, it could choose its own wielder, much like how mythical items and lore often have a will of their own. In this case, why would Mjolnir choose Usopp? Well, Usopp is a master storyteller and quite the pessimist. Perhaps Mjolnir feeds off tales or even negative energy, which Usopp has in spades. After all, Usopp was immune to Perona's negative hollow attack in Thriller Bark because he's arguably the most negative person in the crew. If the hammer feeds off emotions like many mythical creatures do, Usopp might be the perfect match for it. Another reason why a mythical Zoan weapon makes sense is that it would explain the lightning aspect of Mjolnir. If it has a Zoan fruit that grants lightning-based abilities, it would align with Thor's hammer from mythology, which is known for its power to summon lightning. Elbaf's potential knowledge of inanimate objects consuming devil fruits might have been hinted at with the character of Goldberg, a member of the new giant pirates and the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. In a cover story in Chapter 99, Goldberg is seen with a shield that appears to be alive. While we don't know much about this character, it raises three possibilities: either the shield ate a devil fruit, Big Mom brought it to life, or Goldberg just painted a face on it for fun. If the shield did consume a devil fruit, it could be Oda's way of foreshadowing living weapons in Elbaf. Moving on, if Usopp doesn't end up with Mjolnir, there's always the chance he could wield a different legendary weapon, like a spear. Since Elbaf draws heavy inspiration from Norse mythology, maybe the spear in question is Gungnir, the spear that never misses its target. Gungnir has actually been name-dropped in One Piece before, specifically as Hody Jones' finishing move against the 10,000-ton press. Although a spear seems like an odd fit for Usopp, we've seen Oda subtly emphasize the importance of spears throughout the series. For example, in chapter 129, Dory and Bragi talk about their Hakai, describing it as the legendary spear of Elbaf. They also mention that the only thing their attack can't pierce is a snake soaked in blood, a line that has sparked theories about the Red Line and a potential mantra snake. The mention of a legendary spear could be a nod to the possibility of more legendary weapons in Elbaf. Another clue comes from a cover story in Skypiea, where Usopp is depicted as the main attraction in a theme park called Wageland. In this depiction, Usopp wields spears and is surrounded by them. Written on his statue are the titles Dendi, which means evangelist, and God, foreshadowing his later transformation into God Usopp during the Dressrosa arc. Could this also foreshadow Usopp wielding Gungnir in the future? If Gungnir behaves as it does in Norse mythology, where it never misses, it would be a perfect match for Usopp in a fight against Van Augur. Speaking of Van Augur, Usopp's potential new weapon could play a significant role in his inevitable showdown with Blackbeard's sniper. Van Augur's teleportation powers make him a difficult opponent, but a weapon like Gungnir or Mjolnir, with its homing abilities, would level the playing field. Whether it's a hammer, a spear, or even his upgraded Pop Greens, Usopp needs something to overcome the challenges that lie ahead. But if Usopp doesn't get any new weapons in Elbaf, there's always the possibility of him upgrading his current arsenal, specifically his Pop Greens. Let's be honest, his Pop Greens are in desperate need of a buff. In Wano, when Usopp faced Page 1, one of the weakest of the Tobai Rappo, many fans thought Usopp would get a big victory, only to be disappointed when his attacks did little to no damage. If the Pop Greens are going to remain relevant, they need to be stronger. Elbaf, being the land of giants, could offer Usopp the opportunity to discover much larger and more powerful plant life to enhance his collection. Next up, let's talk about Haki. As a sniper, Usopp could benefit immensely from advanced observation Haki, or even a unique variation of it. In film Red, though not canon, we saw Usopp and Yasopp synchronize their observation Haki, allowing them to coordinate attacks. Perhaps Oda will take this idea and make it canon, giving Usopp a new form of observation Haki that lets him see every angle of the battlefield, much like the Rinnegan from Naruto. This ability would make him a more strategic fighter and allow him to compete with someone like Van Augur, whose teleportation ability gives him a huge advantage. Usopp obtaining a specialized version of observation Haki wouldn't be far-fetched, considering Oda seems to be expanding the boundaries of Haki as the series progresses. In Volume 4 Billion, Oda mentioned that Shanks has the ability to cancel out his opponent's observation Haki, showing that new variations of Haki are possible. If Usopp develops his own unique form of observation Haki, it could be the key to defeating Van Augur and proving that well-honed Haki can overcome Devil Fruit powers. In conclusion, these are just a few ideas for how Usopp can power up in Elbaf or later in the series. Whether it's acquiring Mjolnir, Gungnir, or simply leveling up his existing skills, Usopp has plenty of room for growth. What do you think? Do you agree with any of these theories, or do you have your own ideas for Usopp's future development? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.